you have to start with Purdue on the men's side. Their resume is as good as anybody in college basketball. They go to Maui. They end up beating Marquette in the final. They beat Gonzaga down there. They beat Tennessee. Just went up to Toronto and got a high-quality win against Alabama. And certainly the game everyone's talking about awaits on Saturday, which will be on Peacock, where they take on Arizona, the number one team in the country. But they have been phenomenal. Edey is going to repeat for National Player of the Year. There's just nobody that can match what he's bringing. I wrote a stat down. It will be better now because he had 35 points while also passing me on the all-time scoring list, knocking me out of the top 10. So that was a little bit sad. But, if it's going to be anybody, Zach is a generational talent. But it was against 6 high major opponents this year. He was averaging 26 and 12, and it was like 26.8. So he's just putting up numbers that are absurd. And the only person that in my lifetime has done something like that is Glenn Robinson. The big dog was the number one pick in the NBA draft. So that's rare, elite company. But I think what makes Purdue so tough is the fact that Braden Smith has come a real long way. I mean, he is looking for his offense. He's looking for that pull-up. He was phenomenal in Toronto as well, had 27. So those two guys are really the catalyst, but I like their team. I like their depth. There's a lot to like about what Purdue is doing, and they are clearly the best team in the Big Ten Conference on the men's side right now.
Robbie, it seems like Purdue is living up to the expectations so far. Still a long way to go. Any teams or player that has surprised you with how they've performed so far?
I guess from a surprise standpoint, I'll go John Blackwell from Wisconsin. He's the reigning Big Ten Freshman of the Week. I saw him in person for the first time last week at Michigan State when Wisconsin went into East Lansing and got just a massive win. But he's had a nice season so far, averaging just under 10 a game. Might be actually over 10 a game now after his 17 points at Arizona. But he's just in the right place at the right time. He guards, and he just is so active. You don't see that all the time from freshmen where he's playing like an upperclassman. He's not playing like a freshman, and I think that's what's been the most impressive part about him. So I'll go with him. And Wisconsin, a team that certainly has a chance to make some noise in the conference this year as well.
Definitely hard to get it going as a first year. Okay, Meghan, on the women's side, who is living up to expectations?
Caitlin Clark is going to be your National Player of the Year again. I think that's, if you're going to go to Vegas and bet on something, I think the odds are in your favor. She continues to lead the nation in scoring. I mean, she did that as a freshman. She's been very consistent. Leads the nation in scoring nearly 30 a game. I think what's so impressive about her game that we don't talk about it enough is her efficiency numbers are really high. I don't have them exactly, but when you go on all these analytics websites, she's in the green everywhere. So she's doing it at a pretty high level, despite the fact that I think when you watch Caitlin Clark and you're a young person, some of her shots, you're like, that's a bad shot. But for her, it's a good shot because she can make that kind of shot. So you live with it as a team. And she's continuing to take on an even bigger role than she has in the past, now that she doesn't necessarily have the firepower of a Monica Sonata or a McKenna Warnock that, graduated. Iowa is still, you have to go for the head of the beast, and it's Caitlin Clark, and not very many people over the course of her career have been effective at shutting her down. She's too good. Her skill set, if you take away the three, she can get to the basket because she's more athletic than people give her credit for. If you give her too much space because you're anticipating the drive, she'll hit it from three. So yeah, she continues to live up to all the hype and expectations. Also, the only Division I men's or women's players with 3,000 points, 750 rebounds, 750 assists. She's putting up video game numbers. Like Zach Edey, you watch him, you look like he's like playing in a video game. Caitlin Clark, if that was a 2v2 team, I don't know who could.
The greatest 2-on-2 team
of all time. Can you imagine? So I'd say Iowa has been good, and they've surprised me because I honestly wasn't sure how good they would be because they did lose so much with the big down low. And in the Big Ten, the teams that have dominated as of late and historically have been teams that have a dominant traditional back-to-the-back post player.
What about a team that has surprised you? And it may be a little early for this question, I realize, but anyone on your radar in that category?
2 teams have surprised me, and they're Michigan State and Penn State. two teams that they've been in the middle to the back of the pack over the last couple of years. Michigan State gets a new head coach in Robin Freilich, who came over from Bowling Green. Carolyn Keeger finally has gotten some really good transfers that fit her system. And Michigan State and Penn State both are 1 and 2 in the Big Ten when it comes to field goal efficiency at 51%. They're both shooting at a high rate from three. The Spartans and the Lady Lions more than 40% from three. So to me, that ability to click quickly and learn each other's styles has been really impressive. I've been pleasantly surprised. Penn State got into the top 25 for the first time since the 2013-14 season, which was archaic times back when I was in college. So they've come a long way. It's going to be an interesting race to the finish. I will say that the parity in the league on the women's side will be fascinating to watch, because there have been the big dogs and there have been like the little dogs in the middle. Has kind of been any given night. But truly, like the top dogs are no longer as good or as big of a gauntlet as they have been in the past. We're going to see a lot of upsets this year that people are going to be shocked about.